Hello everyone, welcome to another Flesh and Blood video. We just received the brand new heroes from the new set Super Slam, a wrestling themed set going back to the Deathmatch Arena we originally saw in Heavy Hitters. We're getting Heavy Hitters too, but of course it's, like I said, a wrestling themed set with revered and reviled heroes, the faces and the heels, and I am super excited. All the heroes look really cool. We obviously don't know what one of them really does yet. We're going to talk about her first. But the rest of the heroes look really interesting, really cool, and we're getting some firsts for the classic constructed format, which is really, really cool. So let's get started by talking about the new heroes for our first impressions. So the first one is Pleiades Superstar. She is a 4 intellect, 40 health, revered guardian hero. She has two effects. The second, we'll talk about that one first. All of these heroes have an effect that triggers when the crowd cheers or boos you. The revered heroes want to be cheered. The reviled heroes want to be booed. She triggers when you get cheered, and she makes a confidence token. We don't know what those do just yet, much like we don't know what her second ability is going to do just yet, which is an instant to tap her and remove a suspense counter from any aura you control to put a suspense counter on an aura of suspense you control. So I assume that just means an aura with the new suspense mechanic, which they teased us on X. I don't know where else they put it. But when they teased us for suspense, this was why. This is the most unique of the new heroes because it actually works with another new mechanic than just the crowd cheer and boo. Well, sort of there are two other heroes that are very unique. Of course, though, we don't know what any of the auras of suspense are. We just received the heroes and a few traded cards, and none of those cards specifically talk about suspense. But it is also notable that she is getting an armory deck on release, which means that we'll probably get, similar like Gravy Bones, a few extra cards that'll help her out that are more suited for CC and Blitz more than just the limited format, which obviously the set's designed for. If Anko was in the limited format, that might go a little crazy. Or mainly Sawbones, probably. If Sawbones was in the limited format, that might go a little crazy. For the cards, though, since we don't know much about her, there's just a few cards that I think might have some pretty nice synergies. The Emboldens I've read in blue here. You probably are only playing blue as it's an actual blue and your Guardian. Because obviously we're putting auras into play. She doesn't make tokens herself. She doesn't make suspense auras that are tokens. She moves counters around. That makes me think that these are actual auras. So cards like Embolden that trigger off of auras might be pretty nice. Same as like Imposing Visage. This is theoretically just a tutor for any aura of suspense you want because it can get any aura out of your deck. We have a few other good cards. Stamp Authority, I think, is a pretty good aura, depending on how the deck is lined up to be. Maybe hit effects don't matter for Pleiades at all, so we want Stamp Authority to sort of shut those out. Again, it's tutorable with Imposing Visage, can give us +1 intellect. And then something like Surface Shaking as just like another aura that helps with some consistency as if we're playing a bunch of auras in our deck and we want to actually swing at our opponent, we don't want to be stuck with a bunch of auras in our hand. The one revered card I do want to talk about, though, for Pleiades is Thespian Charm. This set has the return of super rares, and we have 4 so far, the 4 charms. Thespian Charm is only playable in Pleiades as she's the only revered guardian, but it lets you choose any number of modes. You can destroy a Might or Vigor token, which is just some extra utility. You'll probably never play this card specifically for that. You can have the crowd cheer you, which is great, but again, not the reason why you're playing the card. I think the charms are going to be in your deck for the third effect on all the charms, as that's like the actual unique effect of them. This one lets you return an aura permanent you control to your hand, which can give us some clues. The Auras of Suspense might be a little bit like Acilio's Sigils, where they do something when they leave play, or when they like tick down. We could get like a mix of them. So Pleiades can remove a counter from the ones that want to leave play to get an effect and put them on ones that want to tick down to get an effect. So this could be a way to pick one up to be able to replay it, just like how Acilio picks up his Sigils with Blast to Oblivion. Or it is just all ticking down and you use it to pick up one that you just took a counter off so it doesn't get destroyed. So you can replay it and keep those counters rolling. So I think that's pretty unique with this card. I don't know. I think this is the worst of the charms, but that's saying that without knowing what the other cards in the set do. I think the two reviled ones are like really good. So it's really just trying to beat out Tough Nuts, the other revered hero. But I think this right now is the worst of the charms. But that's really all we have for Pleiades, as she is a newer hero. Although we do have 3 other heroes who have a lot of cards that are pretty nice in them. The other Guardian in the set is Lyeth Goldmane Vile Savant. This is Victor's brother, cousin, probably brother. He is a dwarf. He is very short. Well, we don't know if he's a dwarf. He could be just a short man. But the trailer calls him a dwarf because he is very short. Lyeth is the most intelligent person in the arena. I believe the trailer also says that. Somewhere, that's an official statement, either in the trailer or on an article, where Lyeth is the smartest guy in the arena. He's like... oh, I don't remember his name. He's like the short guy in The Princess Bride. Like that. So he is very smart. He is a 5 intellect hero. The first 5 intellect hero in Flesh and Blood. He has 40 health. But there's a problem. The base power and block of all of his cards are halved. They are rounded up. So your 3 becomes 2, your 5 becomes 3. But what does that mean? Well, we can't really play defense reactions because they only block 2, just as our other 3 blocks. So probably no D-reacts. And our attacks are going to be very weak. So we're going to either want to play really small attacks that don't really lose out on a lot, or we play effects that play a little more mean with 5 cards in hand. Things like Pumps, things like Pummel, things like Rouse the Ancients. Some pretty interesting stuff there. He does have 2 other abilities. When the crowd boos him, you make a Might token. So just a bit of extra damage. He's very strong with Might tokens. Same as the other reviled hero. Very, very powerful with Might tokens. His other ability, sandwiched right in the middle there, is an instant to pay 2 and tap him. The crowd will boo you, and you give your defending action cards +1 block. So that means your 2 blocks go back to 2, your 3 blocks go back to 3, which is really good. Why you'd want to actually play mostly attack actions or normal actions in your deck. Notably as well, this costs 2, which means every turn we can use Rampart of the Ram's Head, a shield that on defense we can pay 1 to gain +1 block. Pretty powerful. If any deck actually ends the chain, we can get multiple block out of it. But that would require us to play a one-handed weapon, in which Anothos is the technically biggest weapon we could play. It does get halved to 2, but its effect pumps it back up to 4, where all of the other one-handed hammers, the biggest one would be Titan's Fist, which would go to 3, which isn't very good. So I assume Lyeth's weapon, which the set seems to have no weapons from the article. I assume Pleiades is going to get one in the armory deck, but Lyeth, KO, the other heroes, they might not get weapons, which would be a little interesting. I think they could get them in like expansion slot, but not for the limited environment. I think that would be fine to have just no weapons, which is really cool. But of course we don't know, as we don't know the whole set. But Lyeth's abilities are really nice. He does make Might on the opponent's turn if you need it. So you can half your attack, still get the Might token. or off your half attacks, you can still get a might token just by pitching a card, and it's like getting that block value back a little bit, which is pretty nice. So really playing with that 5 intellect well. But obviously, he is 5 intellect. Why wouldn't we just want to be as aggressive as possible? Some cards that are really nice in him, as I said, Come to Fight. We could see like Lead with Power, as it's another pump. Prime to Fight seems pretty nice. If we have a Vigor and a Might, it costs 3. It'll get halved to 5 as it rounds up, but it'll come in for 7 because of the Might token and its own effect, giving it +1 if it's affected by a Might, or if you control the Might this turn. So you can do something else, then throw it. So we can still get a good amount of damage for just 3 resource. But I think the main things where this card's going to come in are going to be cards like Rouse the Ancients, where it's going to come in for 7, go again. You can't, half of 0 is 0. Rouse the Ancients gets pumped by 7. It's going to come in for so much damage. We also have cards like Pummel. Your opponent might block less because your cards do less. If you throw a Crush effect, like say like a Spinal for only 5, they're going to put 1 card in front. Then you just pummel over. You get all the disruption. Easily done with your 5 cards in hand because of Lyeth's intellect value. We also have a few other new cards. 2 reviled cards I think are pretty good. Actually, there is a third one that's pretty good. That on block, or is on a blocker attack, it can give you up to 3 mites. I think that card's pretty good, but it blocks 2, so I think it's a little more niche. But 2 new reviled cards that seem really good. Bully Tactics is a 3 power, 3 block for 0 resource. And when it attacks, you can pay up to 3 resource to intimidate that many times. So you can play it for 3 and rip 3 cards out of their hand. So if you're playing this with a ton of pumps, you made a ton of might tokens, maybe you played a Come to Fight, whatever, you can have this come in for a ton of damage that's really hard to block. This card will be great at ending games inside of Lyeth. It'll only come in for 2 base because of his ability, but still really powerful. We also have Mocking Blow. This is 0 for 1 that gets +4 if we've been booed, which, yes, Mocking Blow does does boo us if we have more life than the opponent, but if we're in a situation where we don't, we can still turn it on with Lyeth's ability, having him pay 2 tap to boo himself. So we can still get that +4, have this come in for a lot more damage really easily. I think the best example of a new card for Lyeth, though, is his Charm, the Liar's Charm. It lets you steal a Toughness or Vigor. Both the reviled charms say steal, but the revered say destroy. You can have the crowd boo you, so you can make another might token. Or you can have target hero lose and can't gain abilities this action phase, unless they discard a card. So obviously, if you're playing against a really important hero, someone like Katsu, someone like Syndra, someone like Prism, maybe, Liar's Charm can come in and disrupt them immensely. Because if you do it at the right time, they won't get their ability off, or they'll just lose a card from their hand, which just might end their turn. Like, it might be so catastrophic for their turn, it's crazy. But the main reason why I think you play Liar's Charm is because you can target yourself. What that means is if you throw a really big attack, something like a Prime to Fight, and then in reactions, Liar's Charm yourself, you'll get the power back from Lyeth Goldmane, since this is just a constant effect. It's not an on attack, they lose it. It's while you control them, they lose it. So if you shut his ability off, you'll get all your power back, making it sort of like another version of Pummel. Really, really powerful. Then, to round off Lyeth, 2 cards I think could be pretty nice in him. Just letting him use more of his high intellect value. Exude Confidence and Fire Breathing. We haven't had a hero that has been able to gain this much card advantage, as he literally just has 5 intellect. So Exude Confidence comes in for 2 base, but gets +2 every time we pump it. Fire Breathing, also 2 base, but costs 2. gets 1 every time we pump it, but it's only 1. So we can say if we have 4 blues and a fire breathing, we can throw this for 2. And then we have 10 resources left, so we can pump it up to 12. Takes your whole hand to put it to 12, but still it can be a nice way to close out a game if need be, or just do a lot of damage. Moving on from Guardian, we have Brute. Starting with the Reviled Brute, a re-release of an older hero. Thankfully, it's not Rhinar. We have a new KO. I wish it was Rhinar and not a reprint of old Rhinar. But we have a new KO here. KO Underhanded Cheat. 4 intellect, 40 health. KO gets more health every time we see him. He has 3 effects. The first, you start the game with 1 weapon zone. Similar to old KO, worded a little differently, but I guess we could see Brute we could see KO grow his arm back, is what I'm saying, with how this is worded. His third ability is when he gets booed, he makes a Vigor token, which is the 1 token from heavy hitters that Brute could not make. So, pretty cool. Mainly you're playing KO for his second ability, which is an instant to pay 4 resource and tap him to give target attack action card base power 6, which is really, really interesting. So, obviously, it costs 4, but you make a Vigor when the crowd boos you. He can't boo himself, but of course you're going to play effects that boo you. So this costs pretty much a blue. So you're paying a blue to make anything 6 power. Now you have to control the card, which means you're blocking with it or you're attacking with it, which is fine. If you're using this on defense to pop something, you're probably losing the game because you're spending your whole hand to do it. So that sucks. But it's really, really interesting when you think of what we can actually target, because there's no limitation. It's just any attack action cards. We can't target weapons. We can't pitch 2 blues and swing for 6 with our weapon. Oh well. What we can do is use it sort of like a reaction. We can play cards like Mischievous Meeps, Overload, Vipox, any small attack with a hit effect, Rowdy Locals, to pump it up to 6 base after our opponent blocks so we can get that hit effect through. More powerful on things like Meeps as it's card draw, or Rowdy Locals as it's a discard effect if we still have a card in hand, and it pumps itself, so if they blocked 6, we can pump it up to 8. Also, this deck seems really nice. The new cards we've seen. Mocking Blow goes to 10 if we can boo us, if we can boo ourselves, as we make its base 6 and it gets +4. Really strong. Bully Tactics, hard to pump it and make it 6, or hard to pump it but to make it 6 and get max Intimidate, but still possible, and it's flexible. So if we have this and like 2 blues, we could intim them twice and send it for 6. That could be a cool play. We also have other cards. Like I said, Overload's cool. It's Dominate, gets Go Again. It's hard to block. Vipox, they're probably going to just block it, but if they only block with 1 card, we can punish them for it. Tenacity, I think, is really interesting, as we're playing out probably a lot of cheaper low to the ground go again attacks. So if they get blocked a bunch, we can throw a Tenacity, make the Tenacity 6, and then still get the pump from the Tenacity over it all. So this can be a good way to end off a chain. I think this deck also has some really nice utility with Go Again. Take it on the chin, smash back Galehorn, Agile Windup, those types of effects that give us agility tokens. As you can see, like Mocking Blow, Bully Tactics, Vipox, they don't have Go Again, but these seem like they're cards that are pretty nice in the deck. So playing these effects that can give us this Go Again seems really powerful. The last thing for KO is the Cheater's Charm, his charm. This, I think they're all yellow. They're all instant. They all are free. Choose any number, steal a confidence or toughness, have the crowd boo you. Pretty standard stuff. The main effect, though, is the last one, as all the others. If you control an attack with 6 or more power, you can deal 2 damage to target hero unless the hero discards a card. Just another way to end a game. You can do it defensively. If their opponent's attacking you, and they run out of cards, you can block, use KO to make it 6, and then Cheater's Charm them, similar to how you would like Reckless Swing someone. Obviously, Reckless Swing's a little easier. You're probably not playing that in this deck, though, because you are not playing that many 6s. But I could easily see Cheater's Charm as that chip damage. And again, if they have something in play that, or if they have like a hand and they really can't take 2 damage, but they really need a card in their hand, this could just get them, right? I'm sure most people would take the 2 damage early, but later in the game when they're super low and you're on the aggro, Cheater's Charm could just fully disrupt someone. Even like really late game, this can just get a card out of their hand that they were going to use to block anyway. So you're getting a little more than 2 damage, right? Because they discard a 3 block. That's pretty good for you. So Cheater's Charm, I do really like. I think the best one is Liath's. Just hands down, being able to shut off your own hero ability is really cool. And this one does have some restriction. You do need a 6. It's not something with base 6, though. So if you have a bunch of might, like you 1 might a Mocking Blow, and then it pumps itself to 6, that's really good with the Cheater's Charm, because then you can have that 2-card hand. If you're up, you had a might, say you played like an Ailhorn last turn, and your hand is like Mocking Blow, Cheater's Charm, and you're up on life, you can send this for 6 and then still use the Cheater's Charm. I think that's really cool. But generally, you're going to play it with KO's ability. Just make it as versatile as possible. I think KO is really cool. Probably the hero that I'm going to be experimenting the most with. But there's another hero I do really like in the set. And that is, of course, Tough Nut, Bumbling, Hulkster. Now, this does look like a complete deck. I do have a first impressions page like I made for the rest. But people are already testing Tough Nut because he is a hero that is able to use Rock. The most hyped, most powerful weapon in all of Flesh and Blood, Rock. Now, why is that? So, Tough Nut, Bumbling Hulkster is a revered brute hero. He has 40 health, but only 3 intellect. He is technically not the first CC hero that has 3 intellect, because before we could play Dadadal in CC if we really wanted to. Of course, we can't anymore because of a rules change. But, thanks Prism. But he is the first adult hero with 3 intellect. He does have 2 abilities. The first is an instant to tap him, which I'm glad tapping is back. I think it's a really cool mechanic. You can tap him to pitch the top card of your deck, and if it had 6 or more power, the crowd cheers you. Whenever the crowd cheers you, you make a toughness token. Again, we don't know what these tokens do, but oh well. I'm sure we'll learn at some point. That's not the important part. The important part is the instant to tap him to pitch the top card of your deck. That is crazy. The whole idea of this deck is, as you can see, every card in the deck is blue, which means we can block out with our whole hand every turn for 9, and then on our turn, we activate Tough Nut to pitch the top card of our deck. It will always be blue, and suddenly we have 3 floating and no cards in hand, so we can swing the Rock. It is a little more intricate than that. We do have some cards that do have good synergies. In case we did keep cards in our hand, we have some non-attack actions with like some Intimidates, High Roller, Beatdown, Clearing Bellow, stuff like that. In case we kept more cards in our hand, we have stuff like Primeval Bellow, Awakening Bellow that pump up our attacks. If we ever want to go wide, even though they're 2 blocks, Smashback Ailhorn and Flying High seem really nice. If there's ever a time we need to get on the aggressive, we can play something like this Flying High or the turn before a Smashback Ailhorn, to then go send an attack. Say our hand's Flying High, I don't know, Riled Up, and obviously another blue to pitch. We go Flying High, Riled Up will have go again. And then we have no more cards in our hands, so we can use Tough Nut to pitch Swing the Rock for 7. So still getting that aggression down if we didn't need to block. We do have 2 of the new revered cards here. We'll talk about them. Comeback Kid is a 3 to 7, 6, 5, depending on color. If it's sort of the opposite of Mocking Blow, where this triggers to cheer you if you have less life than the opponent. And if it cheered you, you get +1, which is actually really good. It's a better Wounded Bull. as it blocks 8. It doesn't need, you don't need to have less life to get, or it blocks 3, it doesn't block 8, blocks 3. You don't need to have less life, because if you have something like Tough Nut who can trigger it, trigger the crowd cheer you, even if you're ahead, you get the plus power. It's a really good card. If you're playing Revered Hero, this is just like straight up Wounded Bull. And Dig In, which is a really, really cool card. This is a 3 block, 3 cost, whatever. It has an on defend to pay up to 3 to make that many toughness. So again, we don't know what toughness does. But in this deck of all blues that wants to have no cards in its hand at the start of our turn, if we take a risky attack, not block it, and expect our opponent to do something, if they only throw 1 more attack at us, and we expect them to throw a lot more, we don't want to overblock. We can use the Dig In to just get some cards out of our hand and be able to still swing that rock. Because the problem with this deck is, what if I just have cards stuck in my hand, right? I can't pitch them to anything. I don't have any equipment that'll let me pitch. I'm sure we might get one that would make it a lot better, but I can't swing the rock if I have a card stuck in my hand. And if it's a card I can't play, what do? Well, Dig In helps with that. You can pitch that card. Really, really cool. Other than that, though, this is just like a rough draft of the deck. I'm sure it'll change a lot. Here's the actual first impressions for Tough Nut. Of course, rock. Romping Club could also be an option. Neither of the heroes want you to discard cards on their own hero ability. So similar to like Puffin, we might see a shift in the Brute class. But who knows? Just good cards general. Agile Windup, even though we're 3 card hands every turn, it still might be nice to get Go Again, especially with something like Crowd Goes Wild, another new card. This one costs 3 less if we've been cheered, so it's free. So if we have something like the Agile Windup on our last turn, we can get cheered, play this for free with Go Again, and then still do something else. Dig In, again, still probably really good. Thick Hide Hunter is pretty nice, considering we're only 3 cards in hand, so we have less things we need to block with before we can use the Hunter. Send Packing, just as some disruption, same as like Bam Bam, as some item disruption. Pretty good as well with the Romping Club if we are on that, or if he doesn't get a club himself. Doesn't work well with the rock, but still, pretty usable. Of course, the only blue 6, Wrecker Romp. I assume Tough Nut is going to get a blue 6 that only he's going to be able to play, because they really don't want to give it to the base Brute class. Clash of Might seems nice, as we are a blocking Brute, theoretically, so we can block with this, then be able to swing our weapon, hopefully. And then finally, we have Numbskull Charm, which is Tough Nut's charm. We can destroy a Confidence or Might, we can have the crowd cheer us, or we can pretty much just do his hero ability, pitch the top card of our deck. If it is 6 or more power, we make a Vigor token to help us pay for things next turn. Pretty good. I think right now this is better than Pleiades', but I think just the 2 Reviled Charms are way better than the 2 Revered Charms. But we'll have to see how those play out. I think overall, all the heroes, though, are really, really cool. My favorite are the 2 Brutes, but I mean, the Guardians do look really cool too. Let me know in the comments who you are the most excited for inside of Super Slam. And with that, that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.